Hey, this is Robert. Thank you for tuning into Station Square, or rather Solomon Trine, because I'm kind of going with the jacket theme once again, because it finally started cooling down again. Yay! So I don't have to worry about, dealing with heat stuff or strokes or what have you. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of the middle of summertime, so yeah, what can you do? But regardless, thank you so much for joining me today. And we got another special guest in the corner. We have a voice actress and does a lot of on camera, stage, and so on and so forth, and somebody who might be voicing in the project sooner or later. This is Amanda Day. Thank you so much for joining me on this afternoon's episode. How are you doing?
I am doing really well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, anytime. So I guess to start this off, how is your 2025? What's something that you want to discuss or talk about? Yeah, let's hear it.
2025 is going great so far. I will say that last year was my best year in voiceover, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years, which is a long time. But we're all noticing, I think, especially in the voiceover world, that things are changing pretty radically, especially with AI, and it's really challenging to try to figure out how to work with it and not be scared of it. And that's one of the things I've been really trying to focus on.
Yeah, I know with AI and everything that's just been happening, it's pretty nuts. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And we also have to remember that, the word intelligence is in AI, but it's not necessarily intelligence. It's gleaning information from what it has available to it. And it's really important to keep a little bit of still critical thinking still throughout the whole thing.
Exactly. Well, like I said, I'm just really happy that we're kind of in we kind of we're sort of finally reached some sort of agreement with that whole thing, so we'll see how long it's gonna be, how how much it's gonna, you know, be put into effect, in the next few months or so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, where we really have to trust our unions. And that's why unions are so important so that we don't have just like, you know, rampant rule breaking and I think they've been doing a really good job about trying to make sure everyone's represented, with fairness.
Absolutely. But once again, thank you so much for joining. And I got a couple of questions for you. It's not going to even really be super long. So, yeah, I know we can just discuss about AI or video game, like pretty much a lot of the same topics that we've already discussed in my, on the show that I did in like episodes and so on and so forth. But specifically for you today, what would you say have been some of the projects you've worked on where you considered like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really enjoy, I'm digging this, and I've been really having like a lot of fun doing, and in a way, would you say it's the most creatively just, it really kind of challenged you, if that, I'm sorry that is a weird way of phrasing it, but what would you say was kind of like the most creatively challenging and some of the most fun that you've done so far in your career?
Um, well, two projects spring to mind. Oh, career. Wow, that's a really big one. Over the last year, I would say, um, one of my favorite artists is Tamara de Lempicka. She was a really incredible Art Deco artist. She did a lot of really significant portraitures, and a big museum in San Francisco was doing a documentary on her, and I got to voice her, which being able to voice someone you've always admired, it was a really exciting thing to be able to do. And then one of the other projects, I'm under NDA, so I can't say who it's for, but it's a big tech company. And most of the voice work over the last year has been all improvisational acting with other actors for hours and hours. And that has been so satisfying to really flex your acting chops with another actor. And then it makes you realize it just is so much about chemistry. Having that chemistry with another actor, being with another actor that is able to give you, so much energy and also really be emotionally vulnerable. I think that's really satisfying to work in projects like that.
And what would you say it's something that you really love so much? Just doing acting, being a voiceover, just pretty much wearing so many different hats as a creator.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things is I think, especially when you've been doing this for a long time, I always say I wish I could have retained all of the information over the years that I've, done narrations for, or audiobooks, or how to explainer videos, because my compendium of knowledge would be so vast. But really, being able to walk in someone else's shoes and learn about someone else's life or even other industries. I say I know a little bit about a lot of things, and I think that gives you a lot more compassion and empathy for the world and hopefully makes you want to be better at building community.
Yeah, I something that you just said just really resonated to me so much, where it's like building a community and just having like a lot of people that are just gonna be by your side. It's just irreplaceable. Like it's super just vital if you want to continue doing this. Or just keep at it in the long run, being consistent and just staying in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, over the years, being a voiceover actor has gotten more and more solitary. As we don't go into studios as much, we have a home recording studio. We have even less contact, I think, with our agents. And it can become actually a pretty lonely um, industry. So building community, continuing to take classes, and I always try to like mentor people that are really early on in this industry because it can be really challenging. And I think you have to be a hustler. You have to get up every morning and say, I'm going to do 10 auditions today. You have to get up every morning and think, what market am I not working in? What class do I need to take? Where, am I weaker as an actor in certain areas? Do I need to update my website or social media? It is a lot of hustling for sure.
Oh, yeah. And in the midst of all of the craziness, what would you say? Name something that has been really keeping you just so joyful and positive and just make you still glad that, you're just continuing to do this every single day.
Yeah. I mean, I think the diversity of people that I get to work with is always really exciting. I always wonder, what is the style of this director going to be that's helping, coach out what they want from my performance. Meeting new audio engineers, working with different actors. It's a really diverse plethora of humans, and they usually are a little weird, which is my kind of jam. I like to be able to hang out and talk with people that have really interesting perspectives. And, like the audiobooks that I'm doing, it's really amazing to do something on one day that is like a Dungeons and Dragons manual book, and then the next day is a fantasy romance, and then the next day is maybe some really hard-hitting science fiction. To be able to bounce between all these different genres, it really keeps things exciting, and you're never bored, that's for sure.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like having so many of these projects and then just feeling the excitement. Like, I literally just did an audition an hour before I actually, no, it was 30 minutes before I even started recording this. And I'm just like, it just reminds me why you just, even if it's just a monologue or something, just giving to life a character is just so freeing and it's just so much fun. So for you, what is something that reminds you why you love doing this? Like the major moment in your life where you're just like, wow, I'm just happy. I'm just so happy to be doing this.
Honestly, I think every time I talk to a new person and they ask what I do, and I get to say that I'm a voice actor, and they're like, "Wow, I don't know exactly what you do, but that sounds really cool." And every time I, talk to a new person, it really reminds me it is so cool and exciting and a privilege to be able to do creative work every single day. Um, that's a really fun thing to get that reminder kind of from other people sometimes about like, oh, that sounds like a really fun job. And I'm like, it is. And it's challenging too. I mean, as freelancers, we never know when our next paycheck is coming from. And that can be really destabilizing. It can be something that a lot of people have a hard time with, which I totally agree. It can be really challenging. Um, and and also just the up and down of the business can be really challenging. I know that some people, the rejection is hard, auditioning over and over and over. And I mean, if you have a booking rate of like 5%, that's awesome. And so early on, I just kind of decided if I feel like I've done my best to prepare for an audition, if I feel like I've performed my best in the audition, then that's all I can do. And if they don't want that, then they want someone else. And that's not someone I can be. So to kind of be able to release those things, I think is an important part of the process.
Yeah, and for you, that's just, would you say that that was a more of a learning experience, like that light bulb moment that just kind of stuck with you, or is it just one of the many that you kind of would think of off the top of your head?
I think it was pretty early on when you'd really, really want a role and you'd spend a lot of time prepping for it and then you don't get it. And I'm like, okay, this is so much kind of emotional upheaval. I need to figure out a better way. And I really like the quote, raising tides rise us all boats. So when the water comes up, it's not just one boat that goes up. So thinking of even auditions that we need to be able to view ourselves as an acting community. And I kind of determined early on that if I was in an audition and the director was asking for specific things, I mean, when I would go out back into, the holding room where all the other actors were, I knew these people. I wanted them to have a leg up. So I'd be like, oh, the director's going to ask for this. So maybe start thinking about that. And I just think it's a better way to go into this world rather than like grasping always and making decisions out of intention about who you want to be rather than fear.
Yeah, right on. And I try not to ask this, but what was the thing that, or well, what was something that really kind of, just jumps kickstarted your career into, acting, voiceover, that whole journey?
I mean, I was acting in church plays when I was like 4 years old. So I always loved acting. I did it in high school and I was, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And I was like, well, I don't want to be destitutely poor and not have money for heat in the winter like my parents. So I was like, I can't become an actor because it's such an unstable um career choice. So I went actually to college. My degree's in international business. And so I really got away from acting as I got a little bit older. And then I had some kids and I was really focused on them. And strangely enough, I was at a birthday party and I was talking to some interesting guy and he was like, "You have a really cool voice. You should do something with it." And I was like, "What do you what do you mean? What do you do with it?" And he's like, "My friend is a voiceover actor and it's an awesome career." And from then on, I was like, "Tell me everything." And I read a bunch of books and I took classes and I did work for free when I was, to just learn. And then I made my first demo and I I really knew that I wanted this. So I had like custom business cards made and I made homemade chocolate truffles and brought all that stuff to like the local agents and found an agent and I had wonderful, wonderful representation, and they really encouraged me over the years. They set the bar high for agents, and sometimes it feels like agency relationships can be quite sterile and not super helpful. And I really like it when you're able to have a more personal approach because then they know what to send you out on. They know what maybe not isn't in your wheelhouse. But yeah, it was some random comment at a party.
Now, how's that for a showbiz origin story?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I was at a party and somebody told me about voiceover. Then I just did it.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So over the years, when you first got you started to voiceover, because you've done a lot of acting for church plays and the whole shebang, would you say that carrying over those skills from doing theater and on camera was also very helpful when you started, making the splash into VO?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I probably have done over the years, I worked on 100 films. That's, a lot of those, probably half of those are short films, which is a pretty great way to commit to a character, to be able to hone your craft and not have an entire, 3-month commitment to a feature length film. And they're a lot more accessible. There usually no money involved with those, and that's the tricky part. But I absolutely believe that all of my acting experience and having to, you know, do vocal and physical gymnastics to like figure out what does this character sound like? What do they love? What are they scared of? What kind of music do they listen to? Um, Having done that so often with voice work, once I get specs, I really try to think about who this person is, um, who they're talking to, who is this person? It's not just um, oh, they want bright and cheery. I really like to think more in a full characterization of them, and I think that that can lend itself to having a much more authentic voiceover read than just performative. And so yeah, I would say the acting on camera and in film has been deeply influential in my voiceover work.
Yeah. And is there any particular field you find to be the most, I mean, we always say that acting is acting, but is there anything in particular that you really enjoy? Just one that really fills your artistic soul in a way? Theater, TV, on camera, voiceover? What is it that really just sparks your imagination the most?
Well, I think film is really, really exciting. I love working with that medium. Uh, as an actor, you realize how very little control you have over so much when you're like a tiny cog in this massive machine. And I've seen something I've worked on edited 3 different ways, and it tells a vastly different story. And even my performance, I thought, was vastly different among the 3 edits. But lately too, I think working on video games and animation, it's so much more character driven than the commercial stuff. And I really love that. I really love leaning into a character. I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, and so I love like accents and mystery and finding the weirdness and softness and strength of a character. I think all of those things really can flesh out a character quite a bit. So yeah, I think the video game part is really fun way to get into those things.
Yeah. I know that video games are also kind of like really hot in the market in a way where you can like say if you're doing like a battle video game for instance, and I know that a lot of it is mainly done just, with one actor at a time, just because I know that you wanted to get like the full just experience or just be immersed into the world and also just a lot of different factors, but it's something that is really quite therapeutic when you get to do the battle cries or just say go go go, and just doing a lot of these cries, war efforts, and yeah, just therapeutic and really vocally stressful. But hey,
Yeah.
you love doing it. Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much all that matters.
Totally. I just worked on World of Warships, the video game, and I got to play like a really stern German general, and that was really fun. Yeah, it is therapeutic to be able to um be like super commanding and directive and I worked on a video game many years ago where it was only different death sounds. It was like 35 different ways to die. And that was really fun and really weird and I would say therapeutic. And also I'm like, I don't know how someone dies of uh strangulation versus a different kind of asphyxiation. So it was just, you look up some weird stuff on the internet, that's for sure, in your research.
Trust me, there's even weirder stuff
Yeah.
than that. But yeah, since we are kind of almost approaching I think we're at the 30, 20 minute mark. I don't know. But you with, because not only do you do a lot of voice acting and, being an actress and all that, but you're a producer, spokesperson, host. So tell us a little bit about, that little area of expertise.
Yeah. I have been working in the film world of Minneapolis for like 20 years. It is a small scene, but it's actually quite vibrant. And I'm realizing over the years through really to get projects done, sometimes you need to fill a lot of different roles. And I think with my business background, producing felt like a really good fit. And it also allowed me to help projects actually get done. So I've worked as an associate producer, a producer, I've done casting. I've done craft services. I'm like, listen, we got to eat better than what we're eating. I'm bringing dinner for everyone tonight, you know? And I've even done picture cars. You do what needs to get done to make a project you passionately believe in come to fruition. And I will say what has been probably the most insightful and eye-opening thing for me was casting. Because being on the other side of that table, you just look at what people bring in a really different way. And it makes me want to be a lot bolder and more adventurous in some of my choices than just be maybe a safe audition that feels like it fits, but are they going to remember that? Like, what can you leave them with that they're like, remember that person who made that choice? And maybe even it wasn't the right choice, but it it makes you memorable. And it makes, I think, casting and directors know that person could surprise us. And that's one of the most exciting things when you're watching someone act is that it's not predictable. It is filled with nuance and even incongruencies, you know? And I think that's really exciting to watch someone that's able to dance around those things.
Yeah. I mean, as somebody who is in casting sorta right now, it's so fun to just see an actor just completely blow your expectations out of the water. Just do something different than you hadn't really considered. That just makes and that just leaves like such a strong impression on you. It's like, okay, so even if I don't cast them for this character, I got something else for them later down the line that they might be the perfect fit for. So, never know.
Totally. What what has kind of stuck out to you as you've done the casting process when people surprise you? What are those elements usually? What do they have in common?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Since we're kind of at the portion where I can talk a little bit about, because specifically I've done like some casting for like other clients and all that stuff, but for Solomon specifically, I think is their total. I think in a way they really connected to the character and they're able to provide a natural, just in a way that's like, you could tell that it's animated, but in a way they kind of know that the character is kind of like, they're grounded, they're not too cartoony or over the top, but they also brought their own natural flair. They bring a bit of their personality to the role. That's super important. As an actor, it's true that you kind of bring a little bit of yourself into every role that you play, and I think in the process I was able to settle on a very, very, very strong, cast. Not just with the vocal performances, but also with the way that how, they perform, like how they're acted. Because, say, if Adrienne is kind of different from Haley, and she's different from William, and, Marshall is different from, Adrienne, and, a lot of the character relationships are just very because we also talk a lot about this with acting, when you do schools and what have you, but having specific relationships with your scene partner is what's probably gonna stand out. Like, I know there's every actor's, process is completely different, but if you're able to give a performance that is like, oh, I like this, and I may consider them for something later down the line, which is kind of what's been happening, like just having people in for different projects that I'm doing on my YouTube channel, and it's just been a lot of fun. So I think that would pretty much be my answer in a nutshell. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think it's always good for actors to have that insight of someone that's doing the casting because sometimes, it just feels like we're auditioning into a void, It's like, is anyone even
Yeah.
listening to this? And so it's really nice sometimes to get feedback and like I have a manager and I really they give me feedback on every single audition. And even if it's 2 words, or even if it's, hey, we like this, but we think we'd like to go in a little bit different direction. Can you redo it? Like, that's awesome. That's awesome to be able to have some of that feedback almost in real time. Because usually with auditions, you just send them out and don't even know if your agents listen to them.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the many things that makes, acting or just specifically with casting just a lot of fun because you get to hear so many different takes and it's like, oh man, I haven't thought of this. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, totally. Every person is going to bring their own sensibilities to it. And I was just taking a voiceover class, and uh, one of the casting directors was saying, for this one spot, I listened to like 300 different auditions. And she said, like 80% of them started off with the same exact inflection in that first sentence. And how boring does that get? And so thinking about that, and can you bring something different to the table?
Yeah. So what was something that you definitely took away from when you were doing voiceover classes? Because I think, and I'm still trying to remember how we actually first met. I'm pretty sure it was VO Dojo or one of the other ones, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was Dojo. That was probably the one because I've done so many and it's just hard to keep track of every single one of them. But I know it was specifically with Tish and Kelsey and all those
Oh,
people.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just practice is so good. And that's what those classes give to you is being
yeah.
able in real time have someone that casts exactly what you're doing. Say, I love it. I would love for you to lean into a little bit more of like for this class that I just did was for animation. And is a really nosy neighbor. And I was like, okay, what is like you said, bring something that's uniquely you. I lived in the Midwest for many, many years. So I'm like, I'm gonna bring in that like real nosy Midwest, accent that from Minnesota, and it's gonna be real like, oh, let me bring you a hot dish. Hello, hello. Just like amping up something that maybe you know that accent, I know what that auntie
Or the person that you're
accent.
kind of stealing from.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, exactly. I know the lady that brings the weird 7-layer salad that doesn't ever have any vegetables in it. And I think those are sometimes really good things to keep in mind with your sensibilities. And so things like that where in real time a director is like, how about a little bit more about this? So one of the biggest things it teaches you is to really be able to pivot when you get direction and not to be flustered by it. This is just giving you more information to get better and better at achieving that tone and feel that they're looking.
Oh, absolutely. And since we are kind of, about to hit the we're about to hit the ending portion of the podcast. Be sure to stick around for the finale that's going to be coming shortly. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments any thoughts on the show. And until then, I'll see you on the finale coming shortly. Peace. Okay, welcome to the finale. Just a quick question before we actually proceed to the last couple few whatever questions that I have for the remainder of this. Because I think I remember VO Dojo. Wasn't it the Q&A with and I'm gonna give a shout out to him, with Brent Mukai by any chance?
Oh yeah, that sounds right. Wow, good memory.
I'm just like, I'm literally trying to remember, and it's just like, oh my God, Brent, just now it's all coming together. It's clicking to me. Yeah.
Yeah, nice memory. I wish I had a good memory. It's mine's not very good.
Trust me, mine's is not neither, but it's just the fact that I remembered specifically Brent. I'm just like, okay, wow.
So good. So talented.
Yeah, just great, great guy. If you were to also give shout outs to, voice actor coaches or just people that you also just think are like, wow, they cool. Like if you were to give some shout outs to the people that you've worked with in the industry, whether it's on stage, theater, so on and so forth, voiceover,
I
or
was
just
looking
people,
for
mentors and all
I'm
that
sorry.
stuff. Yeah.
I was looking over some of your earlier questions, and I think one of them was like what have been projects that you came away with a lot of
Yeah.
learning.
Oh yeah.
And many years ago, I worked on kind of an art film with the band uh uh so it was like well, the band had this idea that they wanted to do basically a feature length or an album length music video. So I got cast for this and I'm looking through the dialogue and there's no dialogue. There's one word in it. So it was all reactions. And I got to work with Josh Radner from How I Met Your Mother. And so we're like plopped into this farm in the middle of Wisconsin. The first scene that we're supposed to be doing is like a birthing scene where we're having a baby. Like, we're a married couple. I was like, oh my God, there wasn't time to rehearse. There wasn't even time to really get to know him. And there's little tricks I like to do to establish intimacy between actors so that we feel like we know each other. And so I asked him if he wanted to go into the bathroom together and brush our teeth together. Because, like, only married couples do, that's like a very familial thing. And it was funny and we laughed through it. And I think it really helped bridge this relationship as two actors that you're just meeting each other for the first time. You're jumping into a very intense emotional scene. And sometimes little things like that can really set the tone for the relationship you're going to have with that actor, a working relationship.
Yeah, that is that's actually really great.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
fun,
just
it's a
getting to
weird
hear those.
one.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But sometimes you gotta be weird, in the
Yeah,
good way. Yeah.
I totally agree. We're not in this industry because we're boring normal people? Yeah.
Amen to that. So, if you were to talk about anything you're really excited about for the rest of 2025, any goal or just any exciting plans that you got cooking up that you want to share with us about,
Yeah.
what you cooking?
Well, I I haven't been doing on-camera work in a while, and being in like having moved, I just don't have, I was really, really connected to the Minnesota film community. And so now I just got a new agent out of Pacific Northwest, like the Seattle area that does a lot of on camera and film. So that's going to be exciting to kind of diversify back into on camera. And that's really a fun way for me to really, I want to do a long project. I want to do a feature I want to be able to really dive into a character all the way and hopefully work on some more video games. That's something I'm really excited and passionate about.
Amen. And what is something that you want to close us out on? Any last bit of advice that you want to bestow your knowledge upon to my viewers out there? And yeah, just I don't know, something that you also like to give to those that are going through, rough times, or just yeah, just any last bit of advice that you also would want to that like I just want it to be advice that you can also give to yourself, like if you're young, or
Mm.
just even right now, really, that can help all of us. That would be great.
Well, I think, you know, there's a lot, the world feels kind of scary right now. Um, there's a lot of people that we deeply mistrust in areas of government, and I think people feel really unsafe, and I think it's important to remember that these things go in cycles, and leaning into your community is really important. And that's not just, in your day-to-day life. I think that's also as actors, leaning into our community and thinking how we can contribute, you know? And I think as actors, if we can mentor other actors, we can take classes with other actors, how can we help build the community we want to be a part of? And then I always say, approach things with curiosity rather than judgment. And I think that's a really good way to approach any sort of script. Like, what can I learn from this? It's really easy to judge things, be like, "Ah, I don't like this writing," or this isn't right for me. Approaching things with a lot more curiosity than judgment is going to lead you to a much better and richer adventures.
That would be the closing statement that I can also give. Like everything you just said, just 100% beautifully well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, so plug in your stuff like social media, website, and all this other um crazy with your own shenanigans that you got cooking up in the pipeline. Just
Always
yeah,
have
just share your
shenanigans.
stuff.
I
Yeah,
love it. I'm a woman of shenanigans.
exactly.
My website is amandadayvo.com. Nice and easy. You can anytime get contact with me there if you have a project that you'd like to collaborate on. That's always super exciting. Amanda Germain Day on Instagram. I don't post a ton of stuff on social media. I probably need to be a lot better at that. But I do like to occasionally, I host a performative naughty novel social club that I do every quarter. That's really fun. We lean into like romantasy and we do live readings of romantasy novels. It's really, really fun. So I do that once a quarter. And that will be either on Naughty Novel Social Club on Instagram or on my Instagram too. And then just other things that I'm involved with. I'll try to be better at posting my acting jobs and my voiceover jobs.
Yeah, and I guess one last thing to do is the outro, where you say your name, list projects that you've already done. If this is Station Square Podcast or Solomon Shrine, whatever, one of the two. But just to say Station Square Podcast with Robert Jackson, and that would be the outro for this afternoon.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on this. My name is Amanda Day. I've been talking with Robert Jackson. And this is it Station Square Podcast and also Small Solomon Shrine. You were like navigating between the two, which is great. Yeah, this has been a really, really fun, it's just fun to talk about our craft, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, and you definitely got it right. Always the first take, that is always just the magical one, as I always say. Any
Yeah.
last words or final thoughts, or we good? We got everything, did we?
Thank you so much for having me on. This has been really fun. I'm going back into the booth by myself all day, so it's nice to interact with the real person.
I know, right? Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm gonna be doing most of today anyway. But yeah, just really nice interacting with folks is so fine. But anyway, thank you for watching. Stick around next time on Station Shrine Solomon Square podcast, and I'll see y'all next time. Or will I? First, you gotta play for your lives. I'll be waiting for ya. All right, take care, y'all. Have a good day. Bye. God loves you.